do, man? It's your favorite Crew Excellence member, and I'm back. Oh my God. Where y'all been at? I've been grinding, I've been living, I've been learning, I've been growing, and I'm in the place I'm so excited to be back with the ladder. First, let me introduce myself. I am Justin Strickland, one of the co-founders of the Hope Institute. What is the Hope Institute? I'm glad you asked. It's the Helping Others Pursue Excellence Institute. This is what we do over here. We grab other people and we make them their best self. So that's why you're here today. This is the Ladder Podcast. It is the ideal where we want to help you take you from where you are to that next level. I don't know if you've ever seen the picture, right? Where this guy, he's on the second step and he has this ladder next to him that he used to get from the first step to the second step. But it's been pulled up and he's looking at people on the first step like, why y'all can't get where I'm at? Well, the ladder, we the people that push him out the way and throw the ladder back down. We want to get you from that first step to the next step so that you can keep progressing and growing and being your best self. I am your host. Most of the time it's going to be me. I got a few friends that I trust. You might see them from time to time. Whether they're here or not, you're going to get some content that's going to blow your mind. It's going to change your life. This content is about leadership. Why is it about leadership? Because at every point of our lives, leadership is required from all of us at some capacity. And so the better leader you become, the better your life will be, and the more impactful your life will be on others. And so I think it's my job and it's my responsibility and my privilege to help you improve yourself as a leader. And that's what we will be doing here on the Ladder Podcast. One of the things we'll do is we'll take leaders from the past, we'll break them down, we'll look at them through a different lens, we'll apply their leadership to today, and we'll see what we can learn from them and how we can use it in our own lives. Okay, y'all ready for this journey? Because I'm going to take you on one today. It's one that I love, that I'm excited about. It had to be my first episode back. We're going to talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., right? So we're going to talk about the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his leadership style, who he was as a leader, who he actually was as a leader, what that would look like today. Would you follow him? And how you could become a leader like him if you think that his leadership style is the right one, okay? I'm going to run through the leadership styles real quick. It's going to be a link. If you want to know more in depth, if you want to grow in yours, we'll be able to do that. That's not what this is for, okay? But I'm going to touch on it. There's 4 leadership perspectives, okay? You got the hero, you got the voice, you got royalty, you got guru. 4 leadership perspectives that all leaders fall into, okay? Voice leaders, we'll talk about that more today, okay? Hero leaders, these are your leaders who are out front. They jump out of planes, ask questions later. They work by themselves usually, okay? You got to think T'Challa from Black Panther, okay? That's a hero leader. You got guru. These are people that lead with information. They want to know all the facts before they make a decision. They're well informed. They're usually highly intelligent. Think Steve Jobs, okay? Katherine Johnson from Hidden Colors. No, Hidden Figures, my bad. Don't watch Hidden Colors. Hidden Figures, all right? And then you got your royalty leaders. These are people that lead with culture. They say things like, we do this like this here, okay? Think Jesus, right? He's a different culture. He leads with a different culture. Those are the other 3 leadership styles. We're not going to talk about them that much today. We're going to talk about the voice leadership style because that is what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led with, okay? So let me give his rundown. We're going to jump into how he led, his perspective, the good, the bad, the ugly, the great, okay? Then we're going to flip it. We're going to talk about what he would look like today leading, right? How that applies, what you can do if you're a voice leader to maximize his strengths and avoid some of his downfalls. And we're going to finish with, would you follow Dr. King? And I'm going to answer for myself as well. And I'm going to drop a little tidbit at the end. So make sure you stay tuned till the end because I'm going to drop a little bit at the end that you got to wait until then to get, okay? All right, so let's jump into it. Dr. King, who was he? First of all, let's start with this. Most people don't understand how smart Martin Luther King Jr. was. One thing is we always say MLK Jr. Most people forget that he was a PhD. He was a doctor. He got his doctorate at 26. which is crazy young. I'm 31. My wife is 31, finishing up her doctorate, and she has never stopped school. And she's been going her whole life. And she'll be done by the time she's 32. And that's super young for a PhD. So just imagine Dr. King having it at 26. At 26, I was not ready to do any kind of research, let alone publish a thesis or write a dissertation. Dr. King had his PhD at 26. He had his bachelor's at 19. So when most of us were still figuring out who we were, Dr. King was walking across the stage with a degree from Morehouse, the prestigious Morehouse College. He graduated high school at 15. So Dr. King was accelerated mentally from the very beginning. Everybody always talks about him as a super bright young man, crazy curious, the type of young man that would get on your nerves, that asks a whole bunch of questions. The why, he kept asking why. That's who he was, and that's very important to understand, that he always thought differently about the world because he was inquisitive, and so he didn't take the world as it was on its face value. He asked tons of questions because in his mind, it didn't make sense if you couldn't explain it. And so when you take that with his background as a PK, he's a preacher's kid. His dad was a minister in Atlanta. And what Dr. King was able to do, and what he had to do, was challenge that very traditional Baptist background of his to even get into civil rights the way he did. At his dad's church, they did civil rights, but it was a whole different kind of civil rights than what Dr. King ended up getting into and what he focused on for the primary of his political career. This is one thing that shocked me. I had looked it up. Everybody knows Dr. King used to go to jail all the time, right? Like, one of his most famous works is a letter from prison where he writes to the different ministers. The white clergy, he writes a letter to white clergy who was not supporting civil rights. And it's a powerful letter. If you haven't read it, I say take some time to read it. It's not super long, but it is super powerful in the sense that he is questioning why they aren't stepping forward against the atrocities that these people are facing. And so when I looked it up, I'm gonna give you a guess. Put your guess in the comment. How many times do you think Dr. King went to jail? So I'm gonna give you like 3 seconds. It ain't gonna take that long. You better put your guess, type, press enter, submit. Don't cheat. All right, I know some of y'all be cheating. I don't know why y'all cheat. Y'all don't get no grade on this or nothing. Dr. King went to jail 29 times. 29 times he went to jail, which is wild. Like, I'm a black man. Like, he was a black man. I don't want to go to jail. Like, that's the number one on the list of don't want to do is go to jail. And he went 29 separate times. Not he was in there for 29 days. No, he did 29 separate stints in various jails around the country, specifically in the South. All right. Which is that's like go to jail and then go to Southern jails, like above even go to regular jail. And he did it 29 times, but it's because of what type of leader he was. And so I mentioned it a little earlier, is he was a voice leader, okay? What that means is Dr. King led through group motivations, okay? He was a group thinker. Dr. King, and I read a book called The Sword and the Shield, and they talk about how frustrated with Dr. King a lot of his advisors would be, because he wanted everyone to agree before they did something. And if you can imagine, you've been in a room with people you love, and y'all can't come to an agreed place on where to eat, let alone where to protest and where to march or what city to march in or what people to fight for, right? And so Dr. King was a group thinker in the sense that he's working with SNCC, the college students, NAACP, and he's going between all these different people, and he's trying to get everybody together on the same page for these different movements. And one of the things he had to do to get that to happen was to walk the walk. And so he had to go to jail with the people so that everyone, no matter what their belief was or what organization they represented, would be like, oh, we can follow him because he really believes. And so this allowed him some clout in different groups, whereas like some people only had clout in their circle, in their certain circle. And there's a lot. If you ever do any research of civil rights, there are hundreds of people that had important roles, but it's usually only within their circle. And so they were powerful within SNCC, or they were powerful within NAACP, or they were powerful within XYZ group. But Dr. King, what made him special was that every group listened to him and mobilized with him, and going to prison was a part of that. It was a huge part of that, because a lot of leaders would, and you see it today, right? A lot of leaders will say they want to do something, tell everybody to do something, but then when it's time to do it or face consequences from doing it, they bow out and they find a door stage left, right? They exit stage left. It's like, hey, where'd he go? I thought he was here. Dr. King, you knew where he's at. He's in cell 6. He was right with him, in the paddy wagon going to jail. And that actually used to frustrate his advisors too, because they was like, bro, you can't go to jail. We need you free. And he's like, nah, I gotta go. What allowed him to mobilize people was Dr. King was so down to earth. And so these are the strengths. I'm talking through right now the strengths of voice leadership and how Dr. King embodied them. And so we talked about he was a group thinker. Another thing he did was mobilize everybody. He mobilized people like that. One thing that happened in Selma that was, if you've seen the movie is good. I think I suggest reading about it and watching the movie. Of course, it's Hollywood. They take some movie liberties, right? But one of the craziest things about Selma was that they had been trying to mobilize in Selma for years before Dr. King came there. And so they had done a ton of work in Selma before Dr. King came there. But the reason they wanted him to come there is just his presence galvanized people to action. And so there was a lot of people that could organize people to talk and do focus groups and get people's buy-in verbally. But when it came time to get people to put foot to pavement, almost every group wanted Dr. King to be there because he had a special ability to move people from the churches, which this is where they usually met, inside churches. Dr. King had the ability to take people from inside those churches and get them on the streets to where cameras and things like that were, so that they could actually have an impact on a nationwide movement. And so that was one of his strengths, was he's able to mobilize followers. Another thing he did is he's an eloquent speaker. Everybody knows Dr. King for his most famous speech ever. Every Black History Month, you see some little kid doing it, especially now we got the internet. They be on TikTok, they be on Instagram performing his speech. He was eloquent, like crazy eloquent. His I Have a Dream speech is dope. It's not even my favorite speech of his. My favorite speech of Dr. King is when he said, if you can't, he says, run to freedom. If you can't run, walk or jog. If you can't jog, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. Just keep moving. Like you listen to that one, he be going in. But he had this ability to take these concepts. Remember, he has a PhD. He's taken crazy complicated socioeconomic concepts and making them so plain that people who didn't finish elementary school can understand them. And not only understand them, know what's the next step. He would take this concept and say, this is what's going on. We are racially and economically profiled. And because of that, we don't have X, Y, and Z. And we don't have access to X, Y, and Z. And we can't get X, Y, and Z until we do this. These are things that people have been studying for decades, and still not coming to conclusions. And he could get you to a conclusion in 30 minutes and say, all right, so this is the next step. Let's hit the street and let's walk to this Capitol building, or let's march to this city. Let's boycott this bus line. Like, he could do that. And that requires something inside of you, right? Everybody can't do that. But voice leaders can do this. And that's what makes them special, is they can really simplify things so that multiple people across different demographics and backgrounds can understand them. And that's what made Dr. King special, was his ability to do this. I got two more strengths, and then we're going to talk about his weaknesses, right? He was a dreamer. That's why his I Have a Dream speech is so famous, is because he really believed those things at a time where they were not fathomable, right? One of Dr. King's most important moments of his life was he had white friends, and then he grew up, and his white friends was like, nah, you can't be friends with him no more because he black. And that was like one of his biggest moments of his life. Yet this is the same guy who says, I have a dream that my kids will be able to play with white and red and yellow kids, and they all will be friends. And this is a man who's been jailed 29 times because of the color of his skin. Yet he says he has a dream that he'll be judged by the content of his character. Voice leaders have an ability to see reality, see all the shortfalls in today, and still dream about tomorrow. It's a special skill and ability that allows them to see past any skepticism, but believe for the best possible future. And this makes them very good leaders because it gives people hope. Most people living at that time did not have a lot of hope for a better life. They had accepted Jim Crow. They had accepted that they were second-class citizens. Yet, Dr. King, because of his leadership perspective, he decided to dream outside of that reality. And then the last thing that Dr. King was he was legacy-minded. Voice leaders often think about what's going to happen when I'm not here. And Dr. King, he said, I seen the mountaintop, and I might not get there with you, but that's where we're going. His whole ideal was, hey, I want to leave a legacy of progression, a legacy of better for people that look like me. He was focused on that his entire political and ministry career. He used to tell Coretta talks about this all the time. Dr. King used to tell her all the time, I'm not going to live a long life. And it used to make her so mad. And you can imagine. I know if I told my wife that, she would be very upset. It used to make Coretta mad. Like, boy, you got 5 kids. You better be living a long life. I ain't married you to be single. But Dr. King, he was acutely aware that he didn't have a lot of time to leave an impact. And so every interaction he had with someone, whether that be from the pulpit, from the monument, or just walking on the street, he wanted to leave a legacy, and he did that. I mean, he's one of only 5 people in all of America that has their own holiday. Voice leaders, they understand that our time, no matter how long, is finite, and so they take every day and every moment to move towards that legacy so that they leave behind the world in a better place than it was when they're here. Okay, but this is my thing about Dr. King. This is why I love Dr. King. It's because he was a human. And so he had weaknesses, like all leaders do. One of his weaknesses, which was a strength as well, you'll notice, I'm going to repeat it, was that he was a dreamer. One of the quotes I think of Dr. King that is infamous is he says, I have integrated my people into a burning house. It was this ideal that Dr. King wanted so badly to see the world as a utopia and as this place where everyone was treated equal, that there were some tenets of reality and systemic racism that he integrated people into without thinking of the X's and O's of it, crossing his T's and dotting his I, of what it actually looked like economically to integrate and what it looked like educationally to integrate. And so he fought for integration, which I think he believed to be the best step, but he didn't necessarily take into account the realities of the world to fight for integration in a way that benefited Black people, right? And so being a dreamer can be a weakness of voice leaders, right? Sometimes they see the world in rose-colored glasses, and they can miss out on some things that are important today to get to their dream. They need group buy-in. This is when I see Dr. King speaking, it's such a contrast to behind closed doors what everybody says about him, which is he was a borderline people pleaser. Like, they talk about Dr. King in meetings. He wanted everybody to agree before they did stuff. And I've been on committees. That's hard. Like, that is hard work. And a lot of times there are people that disagree that are wrong. Like, and so I'm like, bro, forget you. You don't know what you're talking about. You either quit or you come do what we say. Dr. King wasn't like that. And so because of that, his protests and things like that, they took a long time because he was trying to get everybody on board and allow everybody to give feedback. And so it slowed down some of the things he was doing, some of his campaign because of that. Voice leaders are anti-establishment, pure and simple, because they're dreamers and they see the world and they like in their mind, the only thing wrong with the world is the people running it are trash. And so they come up with, they break systems, they break traditions, they destroy what exists because they think it could be perfect if it wasn't for you. And so voice leaders are completely anti-establishment. Most people don't know. Most people remember Dr. King from the picture with Lyndon Johnson and his relationship with JFK. Most people don't know. By the time Dr. King got assassinated, he was excommunicated from the White House. Like, the White House, like, they didn't talk to him. They had put him on a terrorist list. Like, most people don't know that, but like, he was anti-establishment through and through. The establishment didn't know until they was like, hey, bro, you can't keep coming here saying this crazy stuff. And so that's the thing about Dr. King to remember is he was anti-establishment through and through. And most voice leaders are. These are your people that join companies and the first thing they do is like, hey, why we do this? We shouldn't do this. And you're like, hey, bro, you just got here. I don't care about none of that. We changing everything. These are voice leaders. That's how they think, okay? Low self-care is also a thing for voice leaders. Voice leaders got to be reminded, hey, you should go to sleep. You should eat. Dr. King was like if you read about civil rights leaders, it'd be interesting. A lot of them be put on sleep medication. They be having antidepressants. They have a lot of them have bad habits. Most of them have a lot of them have bad drug habits, all types of stuff because they struggle with taking care of themselves because of the weight of the work. Dr. King's schedule, oh my gosh, you think you busy? Dr. King would speak in 10 cities in a week and make sure he flew back to Atlanta to preach on Sunday. Like, he was on a different time. His ideal of self-care was smoking cigarettes. Like, I'm just being honest, man. Like, he did not take care of himself. Which is one of the reasons why he thought he wasn't going to live a short life. He didn't even think about getting killed. He just knew the schedule he was keeping, the way he was taking care of his body, it just wasn't conducive to a long life. And so voice leaders have to be reminded, hey, you got to take care of yourself. You are leading a movement that can impact a generation, but you are important to that movement, right? And so because you're important, you got to take care of yourself. That is a weakness of voice leaders, okay? And the last weakness we'll talk about before we get into current application is voice leaders, their work creates division. Voice leaders don't allow you a lot of times to stay in the middle. You have to pick a side. And we see sometimes how divisive things like that can be. Division isn't always a great thing, but sometimes it's necessary. And so voice leaders, their work by nature, because it's anti-establishment, because it's a utopian view of the world, their work by nature puts people on both sides of the fence. And that can be a weakness of their leadership style because sometimes it makes people that, on the other hand, would kind of support, you either have to or not. And so it can limit some of those people, taking them out the middle. Now let's talk about, I think this is super interesting. I was thinking about this. I was getting ready for the pod today. Let's talk about who Dr. King would be today. Because I think some people want all the good things about Dr. King, but they don't understand what that would look like today and how they would respond to it. So let's talk about it. Dr. King would be a pastor influencer for sure. Like, think T.D. Jakes. Think Joel Osteen. Think Mike Todd. That's who Dr. King would be. He would have a crazy speaking schedule. He would be speaking at universities. He would be speaking at other churches. And he would be online like crazy. I don't think Dr. King would be on TikTok just because of the way he spoke. It probably wouldn't have translated TikTok very well. People would make TikToks of him, but that probably wouldn't be his number one platform. Dr. King would be on YouTube like crazy, and he would be on Twitch. Like, Dr. King, the type of dude that would be streaming. Like, hey, we're at this business, pull up, we're here. Come at 3 o'clock. We ain't going in. We picketing. That Dr. King would be on that type of time with 10 million followers shutting the street down. Like I think probably like a month ago, 2 months ago, Kai Cenat, he's like one of the biggest Twitch streamers in the world. He was like, "Hey, I'm popping up in New York. Come meet me." And they shut New York down, right? And he went to jail. It was some foolishness. Don't get me wrong. But Dr. King would be on that type of time. Like, oh, Congress. That's what y'all on. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey, be gonna be there on Twitch. I'll be live at noon Eastern, 11 Central. He would be on that type of time. And I don't know if a lot of you would like him. Like, I just being honest, I think a lot of you want Dr. King to be like a low-key dude. But like, he was the most famous person in the world. Like, nothing about what he did was low-key. And so he would definitely be on social media. He would be leveraging it in a way that would make people upset. Like, think about what Mr. Beast is able to do on YouTube, where he's able to pop up in countries and give thousands of shoes away or pay for operate. Dr. King would be doing that on a crazier scale with a crazier team. Like, what videographer wouldn't want to work for Dr. King? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to think through these kind of things. Like, his team would be top notch. His clothes would be fire. He would have the best edits, and he would use his platform to mobilize people like he always did. He would have crazy book deals. Like, this is who Dr. King would be. And I don't know if you all would like that. Like, I think that you all would want Dr. King to be low key, like to be a local pastor that made change, that most people knew, but not everybody. I think it would be a lot more comfortable. I think people would be a lot more comfortable with Dr. King would be like Eric Mason. I think people want Dr. King would be like Eric Mason, and I love Eric Mason. But if you study Dr. King and what he did and how he mobilized, how he used TV, Dr. King used TV in a way that was like groundbreaking. Like, no one used TV like he did. And he would be a lot more like Joel Osteen in the sense of his platform, his church. You think Dr. King could have a church in a building? Like, think about that. If everybody knew about Dr. King, you think he could meet at Ebenezer? No, Dr. King would be meeting at the Hawks Arena. Like, that's where he'd be having church, right? And so, would you follow that? Like, I want you to be honest, because a lot of people, especially Midwesterners, we have an issue with the big time pastor, and we have an issue with the mega church per se. Would you subscribe to Dr. King's channel? Would you be one of those people that would pop up to make change in different cities and different places? I want you to drop that in the comments. Like, let me know what do you think. For me, I would definitely be subscribed to Dr. King's YouTube channel. I would follow him on Twitch. And I think you would see me at some of his rallies. I don't know if I would be 100% in, like everywhere he go, I go. I don't know if I would be on that. But I think I would follow him for sure, especially because he was a pacifist. He was nonviolent, and that's like huge for me. Like, I'm nonviolent, and so I think because that was the foundation of his platform, I think I would be okay. Like, I would be okay with it. I ain't got a problem with mega church pastors. Like, hey, bro, if hope you want to follow you, you might be doing something right. Might. Not always, but you might, okay? My voice leaders, I got a shout out to you today. I want to talk to y'all a little bit real quick before we close. This is the extra. If you stay to the end, you getting some stuff that I should be charging you for, but it's free for now. All right. So my voice leader, I want to encourage you, okay? I want to just spend a couple minutes encouraging you. Your dream is realistic, okay? Stop letting people tell you that your head is in the clouds and that's not real and that's impossible. It's just not true, right? You are able to make things change. You have the power, you have the vision, you have the people to enact change and to impact your world, no matter how small or how big, okay? I want to encourage you. I know you've had setbacks. You've been in groups where they stall, and you've been in rooms where they don't believe. But I'm telling you right now, I believe in you. I believe your leadership perspective is valid. I believe that it has the opportunity and it has the space to really change this world. I am not a voice leader. Actually, voice leaders get on my nerves. But my wife is a voice leader. We beef every day. But I understand your importance and I want to make space for you. And I want you to know you can do it. You can do it. Write the book. Start the protest. Start the business. Get the degree. Do what is on your heart to do, what is in your mind to bring to fruition. Start that group. You know it needs to be a group for that. Start that group and let your vision, let your leadership perspective lead you, and you will be able to impact yourself, your immediate surroundings, and your community at large. And so I want you to know that. I hope that you stay tuned. I'm going to drop a link in the bio so that if you don't know if you're a voice leader, I have a whole quiz you can take and then you can see if that was for you or not. So you might have heard that and like, I don't know if that's for me. Take the quiz. If you're a voice leader, come back and listen so you can feel the weight of what I just did for you. Okay. And if not, stay tuned. We're going to touch on you, right? We're going to get to you. Okay. I'm so happy to be back, y'all. I've missed y'all, Crew Excellence. It feel like it's been forever. Like my hair long. I ain't had no hair. When I see you last, I was bald, man. But I'm back, man, and I'm so excited. Hey, y'all gonna get sick of me, bro. Get ready to get sick of me. Drop a comment, like, subscribe, share with your mama who thinks she know everything about Dr. King. Go be like, hey, I know some stuff you don't know, all right? And I love y'all, man. Join Crew Excellence today. Link is in the bio. I can't wait till next week, man. And I'm out. It's your favorite Crew Excellence member, Jay Strick, man, and I'm gone.